there, this is Sharon Lee and Steve Miller.
Welcome to MarsCon Forces of Darkness, and we're here to do a reading.
We're going to be reading from our newest book, Trader's Leap, which is the 23rd book in the Liaden Universe. It came out in December, and it's a great book. You all should buy it.
Okay, Sharon is going to start off. We should warn you that when you read this book, you're going to be reading in a different order than we're reading today, because we're going to be reading some of the spots that we particularly enjoyed from our own books.
Yes.
And Sharon gets to read first.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say we enjoy stuff from our own books, but we do. So today I'm going to read from a passage that takes place on Volmer. People who have been with the Liaden Universe for a little while remember that Volmer is a trade hub. It's a space station. And Patty and Sean and the Dutiful Passage have arranged a meeting with Jennifer Carrison's Denobly at Volmer. And here they arrive. The plan for the day was that Trader Patty Osgolan would accompany her master trader to the trade bar and be made known to Trader for Jennifer Carrison's Denobly. After introductions, Patty would take to the trading zones with Karna as security, while Master Trader Osgolan and Trader Carrison's Denobly sat together and discussed whatever it was they were going to discuss. Patty and the Master Trader had talked at length regarding the goods they might add to the inventory with the redlands in their eye. They had done their research, made lists, compared them, made new lists. The venture was exploratory, but there was no reason not to show courtesy and forethought. While Patty was eager to be out and trading, she regretted that she would not be attending the meeting. To be privileged to sit at the table and listen to the discussions between Corval's master trader and a senior trader from one of the oldest and most successful of the Charon syndicates, that would be beyond price. Who knew what she might learn? On the other hand, to be wholly in charge of the trade side while the master trader was in negotiations, that spoke of a trust in her ability and trade sense that could only gratify. Perhaps the garnet was not so distant after all. "Here we are, my children," the master trader announced, "arrived in good time with merry hearts. Let us find what delights await us." He swept through the doors into the main floor, Patty on his right, Karna on his left, and one step behind, her head moving alertly. Despite the fullness of the room, the master trader appeared to be neither tallying the number of occupants nor keeping a particular eye out for familiar faces or favored colleagues. Instead, he strode forward, deliberately visible, more so than a master trader's usual entrance into what amounted to his floor. It was as though Osgolan had arrived, Patty thought, and corrected herself immediately. No. It was as though Osgolan and Master Trader Osgolan had arrived at one and the same time, and together they drew every eye. There could be no doubt that everyone in the trade bar was made aware of his arrival, nor any doubt but that he wished that to be so. Patty put her chin up and followed, making her own effort to be visible, though certainly she could not hope to eclipse the master. They arrived at the counter. The master trader placed his finger on the bell. Patty glanced up at the board, seeing the names of ships she knew as well as those she did not, and there was the particular ship she had been hoping to find. Nubella Run, at a trade desk. Senior Trader Jennifer Carrison's Denobly's ship. Patty sighed quietly. It had been her secretly held concern that the proposed meeting would be revealed as yet another strike against the passage, but no. The meeting had been made in good faith. She sighed again, gently, just as the barkeep arrived in response to the bell. "Service, trader?" Master Trader Osgolan beamed at her. "Good day to you. I am Sean Osgolan, Master Trader on Dutiful Passage. I believe you are holding a meeting room key from me." The nearby hubbub died, and Patty saw heads turn in their direction. Karna noticed, too, and gave the impression that she had straightened to a new height. Vanner, who had frequently been their on-port security, had done the same thing when he felt interest focused on his charges, a subtle reminder that there was security present, active, aware, and ready to answer any threat that was proposed. Amazingly, the tactic usually served to divert interest, as it did now. Curious faces turned away. Voices took up their interrupted conversations, and the barkeep spoke. Yes, Master Trader, here is your key. She produced an iridescent metal card and placed it in the transfer tray. Shall you wish a guide? The Master Trader took the key in hand, glanced at it, and bestowed a smile upon the barkeep. Thank you, but no. I am familiar with the facility. Well then, sir, on each floor, spin side, there is an info booth, in case need should arise. Thank you, the Master Trader said again and turned from the counter. Trader Yosgalin, he said, with me, please. Sir, she murmured. Together they passed down the quiet room, Karna at their backs, Patty feeling the weight of speculative stares. The lift stopped at the 7th floor and the door opened briskly. Karna stepped out into the hallway first. Over her shoulder, Patty saw the door of the lift opposite open. Two dark-haired traders in pale blue uniforms stepped into the hall and paused, the elder standing slightly to the fore, and tipped his head gently to one side. The master trader strode off the lift, stepping past Karna to the elder trader, sweeping out a big hand in a gesture that was, Patty thought, a sort of a bow. They arrived together from their separate starts, and the hour song had yet to die, he announced. The trader laughed and flung his hand out in precisely the same gesture. You know it. Oh, but what else? A good omen, yes? In poetry or in lifetime. A good omen indeed, the master trader said with his true smile. Trader Denobly, good day to you. And to you, Master Trader Yosgalin, a fortunate meeting, though we should, I think, have met before. I have our key in hand. Please admit, but know my width. First, you must allow me the pleasure. Here I bring to your attention my prentice, Vans Carrisons Denobly, soon to wear the garnet. I am gratified, the master trader said, and Prentice Vans did very well with a bow in the Liaden style, perfectly recognizable as honor to the master. Master Trader Yosgalin, I am honored, he said, face and voice displaying sincerity. Trader Carrisons Denobly, well met, the master trader said affably. Good fortune to you in your pursuit of the garnet. He moved a big hand, sweeping Patty forward with the sheer force of his personality. Allow me to enjoy presenting to you my prentice, Patty Yosgalin, also soon to wear the garnet. Patty bowed to the elder trader in the Terran style, fingers fluttering well met in the oldest dialect of old trade. Trader Denobly, she said, I have heard stories. A shout of laughter greeted this. So, and we traders, we know what to make of stories. Ha! I am honored, Trader Yosgalin. He paused and tipped his head once more. Father moved a gentle hand. I bring Karna Tibbet to your attention, trader. She stands an honored member of our ship security team and will be accompanying Trader Yosgalin on her tour of the markets. Prudence, said Trader Denobly, his face regretful, and in the next moment bright with animated goodwill. But wait, do I hear that Trader Yosgalin will be enjoying Volmer's markets? You do hear it, the master trader said solemnly. Then I must ask of Trader Yosgalin a boon. Perhaps she will not mind so very much to have another trader with her. For this is a splendid notion you have, Master Trader. Why should business wait upon us when we are both assisted by very able traders who are each soon to wear the garnet? Let them walk the markets together and see to the necessary. It will be a fine thing and generate happiness all around. I would be pleased to tour the markets with Trader Vans, Patty said, giving him a smile, which he returned. I would welcome the opportunity, Trader Vans said. We can learn from each other. So, Master Trader Yosgalin, what say you? Master Trader Yosgalin inclined his head. I say that I wish the traders success in the markets. It is done, then. Trader Denobly turned to his apprentice. You know everything that I know, he said with a weighty seriousness that Patty would have found suspicious in father on such an occasion. You know where we are bound, you know our inventory. You need no instruction from me. Go, trader, do well for the ship. Sir. Trader Vans faced Patty in turn, bowing very slightly and gestured for her to precede him. Trader. Certainly, said Patty, and moved to the list. Trader Vans at her side and Karna behind them. Patty pressed the button, the door opened, and the three of them entered. The lift door closed. Now, said Trader Denobly with an outright grin, the key, Master Trader, ply it well. And now we're going to go down to, here we go, the children who have exited the trade bar. Have you a specific quarter of the market you wish to visit, Trader Denobly? Patty asked after they came out onto the public way. Their passage together through the trade bar had generated an expanding circle of silence. She wasn't certain yet what to think of that, but she was glad of Karna's solid professional presence behind them. Well, I would ask that you lead, Trader, the Denobly said, with a bow that was rather less precise than the one he had offered Father. And I would also ask, Trader, if it is not an impertinence, that you allow yourself Vans, or perhaps Trader Vans more properly strikes the note. We are partners in this scheme of our elders, after all. Patty turned to face him, seeing an honest, open, and earnest lad, an effect that a trader soon to achieve the garnet would find no challenge to produce. On the other hand, this was a mission of goodwill, as she had understood from the master trader, and certainly the tenor of the meeting between the two elders had approached, if not achieved, frank playfulness. I may allow Vans, she said slowly, but only if you may allow Patty, Trader. It is a question of balance, you see. Something flickered across his face, arriving as a smile. I do see, yes. I have no impropriety. Patty, I allow myself. Splendid, Vans. We ought to move, I think, before those people in the window chairs fall over from the strain of pretending not to look at us. Well, lead us, please, Patty, Vans said, sweeping his hand out in a gesture that recalled the elder Trader Denobly. I to the textiles, then, she said, turning in that direction. We'll see more interest as we move around the markets, Vans said, somewhat gloomily as they mounted the slideway. Well, it's what they wanted, I guess. Patty slanted a glance at his face. Is it? She asked. What they wanted? Well, it would have been easy enough to keep us apart, you to your trading and me to mine. It was a brainstorm on the trader's part, and I've been with him long enough to know the signs. And your master picked right up on it. They want Tree and Dragon and Denobly seen walking together, trading together. It'll serve something. Maybe the trader will even know by the time I ask him. Patty swallowed her laugh. Is Trader Denobly your father? No, worse. He's my mother's double brother from Carrison's and Denobly. Great deeds are expected of me daily, if not by the hour. He shook his head and looked to her. The master trader, is he your father? Oh, he is indeed, and I am his heir. You understand great deeds are not expected from me, for it was no great thing to achieve the amethyst when so many others have done so. Trader Vans did not withhold his laugh. This other matter of crew jackets on the port, the traders are here to negotiate, certainly. Possibly they wish a collaboration. But to send us out together before they even sit to talk, what if negotiation fails? Well, that's where the trader and his brainstorms play in, Vans told her. I have never known him to be wrong in a brainstorm. So they not only both wish for the deal, they wish to make a sensation of the deal, said Patty. Well, my mother says that gossip makes the market. Patty looked at him with interest. Does she? Our recent experience would be the opposite. Every coin has two sides, said Trader Vans, who apparently had his quotations by heart. Patty gave him an agreeable nod. So we say as well. Here is our ramp, I think. And that ends Volmer.
I'll be reading from a section called Civilization. It's something that happens earlier in the book, in the section that Sharon just read, but it's not even necessarily earlier because the last several books,
We're doing two timelines.
traders leap following and actually being at the same time in many cases.
As Neogenesis and part of Accepting the Lance. This was supposed to be one enormous volume, but clearly that would have been silly.
That wouldn't have worked so well. So the timing is in the book. This comes prior to what Sharon just read you. In the quote unquote real world of the universe, it's hard to tell exactly when it might have occurred. This is the section called Civilization from page 24 on Trader's Leap. The first duty of this day, as every day, was to speak with the oracle. As every morning, Benjamin brought her a cup of tea carried in his own hand. A courtesy, for there was a fully stocked kitchen in her apartment and she wanted for no tea, common or exotic. In addition to being well appointed and staffed, the oracle's apartment on the top floor of the Wardian was the most secure in all of the Redlands. Not that the oracle was a prisoner. No, no one would say so. Only she needed to be watched over and civilization needed to be shielded from her gifts. Historically, oracles and civilization mixed badly. Not for the first time, Benjamin regretted that this particular talent had manifested in their population. It hadn't been among those cataloged talents that had first been banished from the homeworld long years ago. But there, many talents that existed now had not been cataloged or even thought of then. Things and people changed after all. This morning, with the tea, he also carried flowers, Jay-Z having produced something very much out of the common way. He thought they might please his Aunt Asta. The head of housekeeping let him in with a smile and a bow. "She's in the alcove, sir." Benjamin inclined his head. "Thank you," he said, and moved through the familiar rooms to the alcove where the oracle sat at a small table, surrounded on three sides by windows overlooking the civilization which needed to be protected from her as much as she needed to be protected from it. When she had first taken up her duty as oracle, she had used to meet him in other rooms, the parlor, the library, the kitchen. Now, though, it was the alcove, always. Staff reported that she spent most of her days at the table, gazing down at the city below. "Good morning, Asta," Benjamin said, pausing by the side of the table. "I trust I find you well." "As well as I ever am." Turning her head to smile at him. "Oh, flowers! Now whose?" "Jay-Z," he said, putting the little bouquet of pale blooms into her hand. "He's coming along well, I think." "Jay-Z," she repeated, running light fingers over the flowers. They purred slightly and followed her touch. "Cyril's?" "His youngest." "Well, he is a very talented boy. Tell him that his Aunt Asta would like him to visit her someday." "I will," he said, and thought that he actually might. Jay-Z was a kind boy who knew what was owed to kin. And while he was inarguably talented, he also had a core of cold iron, which wouldn't likely be influenced by his aunt's, well, his grand-aunt's, energies. He put the teacup on the table by her hand and took the seat across from her. Retrieving his own cup from the kitchen counter in his apartment, one floor down where he'd left it, he sipped, deliberately relaxing into the chair. Asta had returned to gazing out the window, one hand absently stroking the flowers. "Do you have anything to tell me this morning?" he asked eventually. Asta sighed. "The dark has risen," she said, turning away from the windows with visible reluctance. The universe the universe resides in its direst hour, though so few of us can know it. The universe, according to Aunt Asta, had been increasingly at risk from the darkness for some number of years. Benjamin sighed to himself. Asta's uncle, the previous oracle, had spoken of the danger from time to time during Benjamin's mother's tenure as warden. Over the last 6 years, however, Asta had grown increasingly more agitated on the topic, insisting that the darkness would eat them all. And now it appeared that the universe had entered its inevitable moment of trial. It saddened him that Aunt Asta clung to this delusion, as he must suppose it to be, Oracles were not, after all, immune to afflictions of reason. In fact, they were rather more susceptible, seeing as they did down multiple lines of possibility. Benjamin was no oracle. He was, as his mother, the warden before him, had been, only a very strong multi-talent. All the wardens were so, and thus he was, very slightly in comparison to Aunt Asta, also foresighted. He had looked, reasoning that so large an event as the end of the universe must be visible even to his limited vision. He had looked more than once and gained nothing for his looking but several dreadful headaches. That being so, the obvious conclusion was that Aunt Asta, oracle to the civilized, had acquired a delusion. These things happened, and it was the warden's part to do all and everything to ensure the oracle's health, comfort, and peace of mind until it became the warden's duty to remove the oracle from their post. In service of preserving the oracle's peace of mind, he inclined his head gravely and asked the approved follow-up question. How may the universe prevail in this, its hour of trial? A hero must arise, she replied, as she always did, and do what is needful. Yes, well, heroes in Benjamin's experience were not precisely thick on the ground. He counted that a blessing, heroes mixing less well with civilization than even oracles. Still, the third question, too, which always had to be asked, will this hero arise from among us? Us. Asta was frowning down at the busy streets. She extended her hand to her teacup, picking it up without even glancing aside. From among the population of the Redlands, he clarified, and saw her brows draw closer. Oh, I do not see the hero, only a gleam of steel and gold among the ribbons. Is this a hero or merely the possibility of a hero? I do not know. The same answer, always ambiguous, that half persuaded Benjamin that perhaps this struggle between the dark universe and their own might, after all, have some basis in fact. Would not delusion, insisting that a hero arise, provide that hero to the deluded sight? Well, this wasn't an uncomfortable thought. If this were not delusion and the hero was to stand up from among themselves, among the civilized or the Heosa, it would then fall to the warden to take the hero in hand once they had done what was needful and sequester them as the oracle had been sequestered for the good of civilization. Best for the hero, Benjamin thought, that they bought the continuation of the universe with their own life. He sipped his tea to the dregs, banished the cup to his kitchen counter, and considered the side of Asta's face. She was not, he thought, seeing the streets below, but some inner landscape. That likely meant she had something more to tell him this morning, and his mandated hour was nearly gone. If she did not speak soon, he would be constrained to ask, risky as that always was. Eventually, he cleared his throat. Asta turned her head to look toward him, her face pleasant, her eyes unfocused. Great ones will arrive among us, she said matter-of-factly. They desire of us a service. He frowned. Great ones? He repeated. Drumleys. Before the dust had claimed its long dance with the Redlands, Dramliz had arrived 3 times to study the progress of their small kin, the least talents, in the strange environment into which they had been introduced. Coincidentally, a new talent had arisen soon after the first such visit of Dramliz that inflicted a growing uneasiness in those who were not welcome, and the Dramliz did not stay long among their cousins in exile. To dignify Dramliz as a great, however, Benjamin did not think Aunt Asta would do so, even in irony. Not Dramliz. Asta interrupted his thoughts. Greater than Dromlis. That, he decided, was unsettling. Had the Dromlis evolved another level of talent to which they stood as small kin? Talents did evolve. New talents did arise, as they knew from their own experience. But surely any such mega Dromlis. No, the behemoth did not ask the mouse, but ordered. A service desired could easily be a service compelled. He sat forward in his chair. The Reavers, he said, the Reavers are not returning. One could scarcely call the Reavers great, at least not the Reavers they had seen before they had succumbed at once to their mysterious illness. The Reavers had been dangerous, but in fairness, no more dangerous than their very own Hyosa, in whom the Reavers had met their match. But how if those sad vanquished Reavers had been only small talents in the context of their own lives? What if, lacking reports, with scheduled check-ins missed, what should the upper ranks do but mobilize and come looking for their oaths sworn? The Hyosa were formidable. Further, they had learned from the Reavers, or they were not the Hyosa he knew them to be. Benjamin had no doubt that they had absorbed numerous new concepts and were even now playing with them, as his cousin Tekalo styled it, thereby learning even more. The Reavers have been mown down, severed from their source. We will not see their like again. There was a certain amount of savage satisfaction there, appropriate to an oracle sitting in defense of civilization. Though there did remain the question of the source, of which the oracle seemed dismissive. And it was not, Benjamin told himself, the oracle to whom that line of questioning ought to be addressed, but to the Hyosa. He would make it a point to do that, and soon. In the meanwhile, also, Asta said, interrupting these thoughts, another comes in the train of the great ones, bringing static and disruption. She may be a tool to your hand, Benjamin, or you may be a tool to hers. Well, that was disturbing too, in a way. He did not care to use others as tools, although he had done so in the past and doubtless would do so again in the future. He liked being a tool set to another's purpose even less. Still, that was of much less import than this other thing. Clearly, Asta had gone past his topic, and one disliked to insist. Indeed, one knew very well what was likely to come from insisting. Well, yet necessity was, and duty demanded. These great ones, he said lightly, what service will they beg of us? Asta laughed, picked up her bouquet, and raised it above her head. The flowers struggled briefly and then fell still. See the great ones beg, Asta cried, as if addressing the gods themselves. Oh, yes, very fine. Very fine they are indeed in their supplications. She lowered the flowers and waved at him like a wand. Go away, Benjamin, go away. I'm tired of you. Well, he had known how it would be now, hadn't he? He rose and bowed to her honor. Good day to you, Aunt. I will carry your message to Jacy. She said nothing, having turned again to the window. He waited a polite minute and then went away, back to the constraints of civilization.
That was harsh. I'm tired of you.
I'm tired of you, go away. Now, normally when we read in a room full of listeners, and we've been lucky enough to have roomfuls for the past few years, and we had roomfuls at MarsCon several times now.
Yes, we did.
We have questions from the audience, and we can't have that now. But we do hope you have enjoyed this, and we hope that this is sufficient to interest you in the book and the stories, and that you'll go off and look at them.
And thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us read. Christine, we're done now. Thank you.